You're listening to Thunderquack Podcast Network. This is the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunderquack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's Thunderquack time!
Introduce the Thunderquack podcast, or do we just start talking?
We just start talking.
Oh, okay. See? Oh, there you go. Thank you. That's better.
When it's actually like the proper podcast, we'll do the thing. But for now, it doesn't matter.
That's good. So there's no Arrow next week.
There's no Arrow next week.
We should do a Thunderquack, but because I could do those from home because we don't have to watch the thing. We should talk about Terminator. That's like the reason we went to go see it, is to like...
Well, no, we're going to talk about Terminator right now.
Oh, okay, good.
I've been promoting it all over the place.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the Thunderquack podcast is just a Terminator review.
Yes.
Oh, good.
I'm considering, and I guess this is the part where Thunderquack listeners can let us know, but I'm considering that like Thunderquack reviewed as like a YouTube thing is a lot of work.
Okay.
And not a lot of people are listening to it.
Oh.
So, like, less people listen to that than listen to the podcast. So, I think that we should just start doing the reviews on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Like, as part of the podcast.
Makes sense.
So, when there's something that we've both seen.
We'll actually just talk about it as part of the podcast. And it doesn't have to be it's just reviews. It can be, like, other things. Like us fixing microphones.
Yeah.
And me drinking my juice.
So yeah, I don't know. It's difficult because like neither one of us are gonna see all of the movies.
Yeah.
So.
But we can try. What's on your socks? Are those Bigfoot?
They are Yetis.
Yetis. I know. Sorry.
Excuse you.
Sorry.
Jeez.
This is so terribly wrong.
Yeah, that's offensive to Yetis.
They are pretty fun.
And offensive to Sasquatch, who don't appreciate being referred to as Bigfoot, by the way.
Maybe Bigfoot is a specific kind of Sasquatch.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Sasquatch. Bigfoot is a colonizer term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like a slur.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't like it.
Where's your knowledge coming from?
Where's my knowledge coming from? From Sasquatch.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a Sasquatch that was happy to be called Bigfoot? No. The answer is no. And no one can refute that argument because the answer is no. You've never seen a Sasquatch.
It's true. So, but you can just like reverse it on you. Have you ever seen a Sasquatch that has told you not to call them Bigfoot?
Well, a Sasquatch can't speak English.
Okay, well, whatever. This is a fruitless conversation.
You're trying to catch me and
you
can't.
around.
I can't get got. It's impossible.
Okay.
What?
Sure.
What are you about to comment on?
Did you drink McDonald's today, or is that from...
I ate McDonald's and I have a beverage from McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
I didn't exclusively drink McDonald's. Yeah.
That's good. I'm just looking at the McDonald's cup.
Yep.
It's all good. There's like, I love that I don't have a lot of extra space in my apartment because looking at this room and like knowing my own personality, I would definitely have a room where I just put things that I didn't want to put other places. Like this room is like so great that it just has all this stuff. And I'm like, I totally need a room like this. And then I was thinking to myself, no, you don't, Amanda, because you would just put everything in it and it would just live in this room.
That is definitely Crystal's idea of what this room is for. Hence all of this garbage wrapping paper over here.
High School Musical wrapping paper? Yes.
Is it? No, I didn't even know that was a thing. It's in my house. I didn't even know it existed. I don't recall her ever wrapping anything in that. Somebody else must have.
It's probably a present that was given to your young child.
Yeah.
Thinking that your young child is the right kind of young to have watched High School Musical.
Yeah.
She's not.
No. Although when Disney Plus launches on Tuesday.
Maybe she will. It does launch on Tuesday?
Yeah. If you're listening to this on the free feed, then Disney Plus is already out. The Mandalorian was great. Jeff Goldblum is funny.
Is Jeff Goldblum in The Mandalorian?
Nope. Jeff Goldblum has his own show.
Oh, yeah. I'm aware of that.
The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
I am excited
which
for
is
that.
just, like, it is honestly the laziest. The World According to Jeff Goldblum is the sort of thing that I would do because I'm a lazy producer, and the idea is like, so with The Mandalorian coming out, it's an hour-long dramatic Star Wars show, and theoretically that means that we would treat it the same way that we treat Arrow, but I don't want to sync it up with other people because it's not you and I, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a bunch of people.
We're not in the same room. It'll be actually sometimes 3 hosts. So we're just gonna talk about the episode. No recap, nothing written. Just like take notes when you're watching. Watch the episode at least twice before recording, and then talk about it.
Oh, good.
But you gotta.
I'm glad you gave me those instructions because I was just gonna show up on the podcast.
You need to bring it because it's a different audience than what you're used to.
That's true.
To talking to. So on Quiver, we talk to an
laissez-faire.
audience. Yeah, that like our audience on Quiver, particularly the audience that we've cultivated as like our core audience, they listen to us. They probably also listen to a lot of the other Green Arrow podcasts and Arrow podcasts, whatever. But they listen to us specifically because we're not as like, let's stop and talk about Crisis on Infinite Earths for 45 minutes before we actually talk about the episode. Like, I'll go like, yeah, I think this is what happened in that before. Like, I'm pretty sure. And you'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And people like that. But with the Star Wars stuff,
you have to know.
There are very few fans who are that casual about their podcast.
I didn't know that Mandalorians had their own like insignia, and I don't know enough to be on this podcast, but I feel I can watch 2 episodes at least and then podcast about the second episode. Do I have to know a lot of backstory, or can I just have...
yeah. You're gonna be super lost with a bunch of stuff, but it's okay because we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, because you haven't watched Clone Wars and you haven't watched Star Wars Rebels.
Correct.
So my guess is that within the first 15 minutes of the first episode, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming at you that is going to either go over your head or like hit you head on, and you're going to be like, I don't know what they're talking about.
I honestly, what is happening to time in the world? Because I remember when this was announced, I was like, I have plenty of time to catch up on Clone Wars. And now it's coming out on Tuesday. Like, what happened to my life and my ability to watch Clone Wars? I really want to catch up on Clone Wars. It'll be on the thing too, right? Like the streaming.
Oh yeah, Clone Wars is on Disney Plus.
I could just like watch it there then. You know what I really want to watch? You know the first thing I'm going to watch? Ratatouille. I've been wanting to watch Ratatouille for like a year and a half to 2 years, and I just haven't had the opportunity.
Move your mic back a little bit.
Because I'm yelling about Ratatouille into the microphone?
You're getting
I'm getting excited.
Heated.
Fine. There you go.
You literally moved it and then moved it right back to where
No, I didn't. I pushed it far away.
There you go. There, that's better.
Okay.
It's gonna sound horrible.
It is. I'm sorry, everybody.
I'm
in a mood. I'm like kind of tired. I got like today. I was like, yes, it's podcast day, and I actually have energy, and I'm gonna leave work early, and I'm gonna go podcast. And then leave work early meant that I was out of work at 6:40, which genuinely like I feels like it's sarcastic, but I was actually quite happy to have been out of there by like I did most of my work by 6.
I said to Kara at like 7:00, I was like, you need to get your act together and go to sleep because Amanda's actually on time for once. And I don't want to waste that. Like, you're not walking in. You did end up walking in at 8:30, but that was because of
IKEA.
And the kid.
And yeah. But it was good. But it was like an odd thing where I was like, I'm on time and now it's going to be an awkward time for me to arrive. So I got to call Mike and see how to best coordinate my landing. I didn't get tea though. So I'm really sad. I feel like in the break, I'm going to just like pull the curtain back a little bit. I feel like in
You're gonna go
between
make tea?
Thunderquack and Quiver, I have to make some tea.
That's
and
fine.
also transfer my laundry into the dryer. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Because I brought
that should
laundry
be
here
fine.
because I don't know.
Okay,
Because-
that's the end of that sentence.
I don't know, I guess so. Whatever. I'm in a weird mood today. It's going to be an odd podcast. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. Like, I think maybe I'm just, like, less stressed. I was, like, super running on, like, high stress for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just, like, I'm, like, a lot less stressed out today.
Well, because,
But
like,
also my brain is not functioning.
essentially, like, before you were running, like, 4 projects.
Yeah.
Like if you include work in
Yeah.
there, right? And now you're just basically down to work.
Oh.
And then, like, the other stuff is just kind of percolating, right?
And
Like,
yesterday was crazy at my actual work.
Yeah.
So it's weird and I've been leaving emails for 24 full hours before I've been replying to them. And it's like real, like messing with my head. I'm like, oh no, I should be doing all this stuff. And it's a long weekend this coming weekend.
It is a long
and I'm
weekend.
so excited to have 3 full days.
Is it a long weekend in the States as well?
It
though?
is not. I don't believe that Veterans Day is an actual holiday. I feel like it's a holiday in the annoying ways in that I'm pretty sure like libraries are closed, but
a
I
bank
don't
holiday,
think
but
I
it's
don't
not
think it's
like
a
a-
stat holiday.
yes.
I don't know. Is America, do they call them stat holidays as well, or is it
I don't know
different
what
thing.
they call it.
because bank
in terms
holiday
of
is a
that.
U.S. thing, right?
I guess. I don't know. Bank holiday means like that the bank is closed.
Oh, that makes sense.
And like schools are closed
Yeah,
and whatever.
But I don't think
like,
schools
no.
are closed on
No.
Veterans Day, which is a weird thing to me because veterans are like lauded in America as like these
It's a bigger
heroes.
deal.
Yeah, and yet Canada is the one that celebrates.
So
Remembrance
like the tones of them are very different, right? Because I think because America is presently, and when I say presently, I don't just mean right now. I just mean in at all times, America is presently at war with somebody.
Right.
So when they say veterans, they're talking about like
Current veterans.
like people our age and even younger that are already veterans that like let's show them some respect. With us, it's more because we don't consider ourselves at war with anybody. We are peacekeeping. So like yeah, absolutely, people are in our military are overseas and they get injured and come back and you know with a lot of the same problems, but certainly not at the same scale.
Yeah.
And like it's not as extreme, I don't think, because we're not actively sort of pushing people into harm's way.
And I think it's specifically like Remembrance Day is very specifically to like remember.
And for us,
the
yeah,
past
Remembrance
wars
Day
and-
is supposed to be about people who fought in wars previously,
Yeah.
and us remembering that so that we don't put ourselves in that situation again, right?
Yes.
Like that's sort of the idea there. Like the phrase around Remembrance Day is "lest we forget," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the idea there is like remember all of the people that died so that we don't go to war, we don't cause war, we don't. So it's a very different attitude. And I always hated it in high school when somebody at the like you have your Remembrance Day ceremony or whatever in school, and there's a student that gets up and makes some impassioned speech about how we're not supposed to be or like not supposed to be, but like oh, like this is happening in the world now and this is happening and this is happening, and it's like that's not the point of this day specifically.
People didn't do that in my school. I don't remember that
Well,
happening.
we went to the same school,
Oh,
so
like for like a year. Did you know that?
I there was overlap for like a year, yeah, your grade
that's it.
11 was
we
my grade
only
7.
went to the
Yeah,
same
that's
school
true.
for a year.
That's true.
Isn't that crazy? Anyways, I
I
feel like
guess.
I feel like you were like part of my full high school experience.
Well, because we knew each other from Shakespeare Fest.
Yeah, I
that's
guess so.
why.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know you longer than that, but
Yeah.
it's all good. Yeah, Remembrance Day.
Do you want to talk about Terminator now?
Sure.
So we went and
about
saw
Terminator.
Terminator on Saturday. We actually the two of us made a concerted effort
To like
And
actually go. Yeah.
I think this is where I said like I think that like we're gonna do a little bit more of the reviews on the Thunderquack podcast as opposed to doing them as a separate thing, and I think that you and I should like we should try and do that at least once a month, because there's at least one movie a month that's worth us talking about on the podcast.
That's fair.
So
I have to go to a movie a month? Man.
Yeah, so we'll go...
Charlie's Angels comes out soon, sorry.
But then we'll go out of our way to, for you to come over and hang out with the kids, and then we can go to a movie.
That's a great idea. I had such a fun... So this is the best part about Terminator, is that I got to come here first and hang out with Cara and Cassie. And Cassie was so good. She slept the whole time. Because I don't know how I would have dealt with it otherwise. But I just got to come here and hang out with Cara and watch The Force Awakens and tell Cara not to touch Cassie for a full hour. It was an ongoing effort to say, please don't wake her up. Please don't wake her up.
Yeah.
Please stay this much far back away from her. Like, it was like a thing where I like almost wanted to put up like a barrier. But anyways, and then when Cassie did wake up, she like went back to sleep, like on me. And it was so cute. Anyways.
And then what happened with Cara?
Cara had an accident. And then, so it was a bathroom related accident. And then I had to, and it was this terrible cacophony of like, the movie was ending, and so the score is playing, and I had to get up and go help Cara, like, get changed, and I had to put Cassie down, and Cassie was sleeping, and the moment I put her down, she started wailing because she didn't want to be put down. So then I'm trying to, like, rock Cassie with, like, my foot on the little bouncy thing while I'm, like, helping Cara in the bathroom, and then I have to, like, clean up the, like, hallway, and, oh, man, it was... And poor cat, she just, like, screams, and then you feel so bad, and I just want to, like... Be like, I'm sorry I woke you up.
I don't feel bad.
Aw.
Because that's what babies do.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
She's not going to remember it.
But I don't get it. Like, she was sleeping. It's just moving you from one place to another. You're still sleeping. Like, sleep in the other place. As opposed to, I don't know.
If your bed suddenly started moving and put you in another bed, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? And that's her concept of it. So I totally understand where she's coming from as a small protoform human being. But yeah, I mean, like, if I worried about every single thing that would upset them, nothing would ever get done.
I mean, that's fair. The problem I have is that now thinking about it, I literally cannot remember in my life ever having to be in charge of two children at the same time. Like, I will
be honest. We're going to talk about Terminator eventually. I will be honest. When you said, "Oh, I'll come over and hang out," I fully expected, because Crystal needed to go get her haircut. So she had made an appointment on the Saturday. And so I was like, okay, well, Crystal's going to go get her haircut.
Yeah.
And then I will be here with Cassie.
Yeah.
And
then
you'll
I can hang out with Cara.
Play with Cara. That's what I thought.
I had similar expectations.
That's what I thought was going to happen. And then Crystal's like, no, you're coming with me. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure Amanda knows that. And then, yeah, like, you came over and like, basically we were getting ready to go out, and I, like, kept looking at you, waiting for you to go, like, I don't know if I can do this. And you never did. You never gave any indication that you were uncomfortable with it. So
it's fine. You're sort of in it, and you're
like, okay.
Like, sure. Yeah.
So Crystal and I went to the mall, and I went shopping while she got her haircut, and
the biggest thing
then
for
we had
me
an
was
awful meal at Chipotle.
Oh gosh.
It was terrible.
Oh dear.
It was terrible. I got the carne asada, which is like a special thing that they're doing right now. It's normally like they have the steak and it's like cut up into cubes, but the carne asada in the picture is like, it's like a nicely seared, like, medium rare piece of meat. So it's got like that nice, like, pink reddish ribbon through it. And then I get it, and it's just like dog food.
Oh, geez.
They're like, they're strips of steak, but they've just been massacred.
Aww.
Like, just, and the texture of it was just like awful. It was awful. And the girl that was scooping and everything just could not care
just
any less.
Massacred.
She was just at the bottom of the careability. And it was just like, come on. Like, yeah, I was really looking forward to it. I really liked Chipotle. Oh,
you like wanted to like it.
And saw these pictures. I saw a commercial for the carne asada, I think, while watching Arrow or something. And I was like, that's rad. I hope that we get that here, because often with Chipotle, when they do the promotional stuff, we don't end up getting it. but they had it. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I said it, and then I saw her scoop it, and I was like, well, this is going to be something. and I was right. It was not very good. I should have just stuck with. I usually get half chicken, half steak, and the key there is that if you say half chicken, half steak, it's not double meat, but you are going to get 2 scoops, so you get a little bit more meat than if you just got 1 scoop. It's a little bit of a Chipotle hack. There are a bunch of...
I don't think I've ever eaten Chipotle.
My friend Scott and I had when we were working together downtown, we had like a system at Chipotle for getting the most food imaginable out of a $10 Chipotle bowl. It was pretty impressive. And then I realized, like, every time I go to Chipotle, I end up with a stomach ache after eating. And I have, like, 3 meals worth of food because we had hacked the system with all these Chipotle hacks. And that would be why. I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Because I can? Yes. I don't need all of this food. So I stopped. I put an end to that behavior because it was just gluttonous. It was just like, I can. So this is one of the key ones. No matter what you get, you can get like a tortilla or taco shells with it. So even if you get the salad or the rice bowl, you're still entitled to the tortilla as if you got a burrito, or the taco shells as if you got 3 tacos. Okay. It's like included in the price, but they just generally don't give it to you.
Yeah.
Right? So you just ask for that. And like if you ask for 3 tacos, they're just these little taco shells, right?
Yeah.
And they would just put whatever to fill the taco shells. You don't get very much, but it's the same price as everything else. But you can also basically ask for as much rice as you want. And the only other thing that costs extra is either double meat or guacamole, right? So you just no guacamole, and you just then you do the half and half meat. Well, I mean, like, you can. If you're Jeremy Renner, you don't have to worry about it, but I think he might have to worry about it now because he's run into some issues. I don't know the details of that, so we're not going to get into that.
I completely don't know what you're talking about. Jeremy Renner and guacamole? What is this?
Well, there's a funny video about Hawkeye. I think it was on Jimmy Fallon or something like that, where Jeremy Renner sang a song about Hawkeye. Oh. And about how he doesn't have any powers and he's the lamest Avenger or whatever. But the funniest part of the song is that he says when he goes to Chipotle, he always gets free guac. And then they had like a picture of him at Chipotle with like a little...
As like, Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Hawkeye costume.
Right, yeah.
But apparently there was something about like he put a gun in his, I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his wife, but like in his partner's mouth or something like that. And I don't know. She like I think at this point ex-wife, I think like accused him of this.
Yikes.
And it's one of those things where it's like that doesn't seem like a thing that would happen, but I guess it is a thing that would also happen. I don't know. He just, yeah.
Ex-wife claims he put a gun in his mouth, threatened to kill her. What? Oh, he would have put a gun in his mouth and threatened to kill her, like being like crazy. Anyways, but I don't know. That's the first. Yeah. That is the first thing I do when I Google. Anyways, I won't Google that anymore. I have a Chipotle thing though today. Okay, I've been rewatching The Good Place. Yeah. Like I've watched like the full Good Place like twice in the last month, just because it's just like replaced my Friends on Netflix, and I just watched the half-hour episodes. And it's also literally the only show that I genuinely like get home and I'm like, it's Thursday, I'm gonna watch this. Anyways, but there was a joke today. It was like one of the first episodes of the 3rd season or something where she like says that she thought Aristotle was originally like pronounced like Chipotle, and then she was like, wait, is it Chipostotle or something like that? And it was like, anyways, so you said Chipotle, and I was like, I never ever think about Chipotle, but I was literally like thinking about Chipotle earlier today because of that. Anyways, your children are cute. That's the moral of the story.
Yes.
That it was really awesome. And I wouldn't have survived had Cassie not slept for most of it.
Yeah.
But then her sleeping on me was awesome. And also that Cara is like pretty self-sustaining. Like we like played with all of her dolls for the first hour and I had to dress them all. Are they still dressed or did she like undress them already since then?
I don't think that she's undressed them.
Good.
Yeah.
they were, I don't know, you were missing a costume for one of them and it made me sad. I was like, oh.
Who was missing a costume?
Elsa, not the Barbie based Elsa, but the
bigger one?
The bigger one. Because we all need, oh wait, Anna. The other one. No, Elsa had both her outfits.
Okay.
It was Anna that didn't have it. I'm really excited for Frozen 2.
Yeah, we bought tickets already.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I figured, because like Frozen is for Kara like Star Wars is for me, so I when I don't know what morning was that, Monday I think. Yeah. I was up very early because the cat is a jerk, and I was looking at Instagram and there was the Instagram video from Kristen Bell of like tickets are on sale now, and I went to the Cineplex website. I am fairly certain. I didn't check all of the theaters in Vancouver, obviously. I looked at the ones that we would normally go to, but because it's an IMAX, I just looked. And no tickets had been purchased in any of the theaters that I looked at. I'm pretty sure at 6:45 in the morning on Monday, I was the first person in Vancouver to buy tickets to Frozen 2. Nice. So, yeah, I mean, I got some pretty crummy seats for Rise of Skywalker, but I really nailed it on Frozen 2.
We have crummy seats for Rise of Skywalker?
They're not great. They're not great.
Don't you always get those like front row seats?
Yes, usually.
Devastating.
Yeah. I don't know what happened with Rise of Skywalker. Like, I was there and like 1 second the tickets were not on sale, and then like a split second later they were, but everybody else who was also waiting to get in just got in there before me. Okay. So,
well, I'm still excited. It'll be great. Yay, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, Terminator, Dark Fate. We went and saw it.
Because yes.
So we're both big Terminator fans, obviously.
Yeah.
And particularly of the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
That's mostly Sarah Connor Chronicles and like OG Terminator.
Although I
did the one with like Sarah Daenerys and the Doctor. I don't remember which one. Genesis, I think. Was okay.
Genesis is what it's called.
I mean, it was. I haven't seen the Christian Bale one, though.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you. Genesis is a piece of hot garbage. But
it's not Terminator. So that's the thing. I like it as like an action movie, but it's like it's something completely different from like what Terminator is. But because of those actors and like I just want reasons to like Matt Smith.
So just to go through all of it, I'll just go through all of it. So we've got Terminator, which is the original. Which is a classic, which is one of the greatest action movies. And it's actually more of a horror than it is an action movie.
Oh, but I guess so. And also the best like example of perfect time travel out of any movie that I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I still hold it up to this day.
And then you've got T2, which is an impossibly good sequel to, like, it is a better movie than the first one, although I think that the first one... I like the first one way better, but the second, like, T2 is better in the sense of, like, it's, like, production value goes up, the cast is bigger and better, like
people enjoy it more.
When you think of Terminator, it's like, okay, Linda Hamilton is fine, Arnold Schwarzenegger is great, is it Michael Biehn? I think it's Michael Biehn, that plays Kyle Reese, is awesome, and that movie wouldn't... Terminator. That's the thing that everybody always forgets, is that Kyle Reese is so important in the first movie.
Yeah.
And without Kyle Reese and without that actor, I don't think that Terminator is a good movie.
Oh.
I think with Schwarzenegger alone and Linda Hamilton at the level that she was at the time, I don't think it's great. Like, I think that it's fine. Wasn't it one of
Arnold Schwarzenegger's first things? Like
it was one of his first. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, like Arnold Schwarzenegger is perfect in that movie, but it just wouldn't have been as compelling. Like, he is the one who sells it. Yeah. Like, he's the reason why you believe the terrible stop motion Terminator towards the end of the movie, right? So that's why I say Terminator 2, it's just it's a bigger cast, it's the better actors on the larger scale. Like, the incidental characters are better than they are in the original. And the effects obviously are some of the best that have ever been done. So, and then you jump forward to many, many, many years later, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, which is not a good movie, but I really like it.
I don't know if I've seen T3.
But it's not good.
Have I seen T3?
It's the one where it's just John. You've definitely seen T3 because we talked about it when we talked about Sarah Connor.
Maybe.
It's just John, and Claire Danes is the one who is actually, like, the Terminator is actually there to kill. Because so the story in that one is that after T2, Sarah and John get so good at not being followed, not being found, that the Terminators in the future are like, well, we don't know. John Connor just appears one day, and there's no trace of him after.
Oh, and then that's like how it. Yeah. Okay.
So instead of going after him, they send back a Terminator to kill all of his lieutenants.
Right. Okay.
One of whom is Claire Danes, and we learn through the course of that film that she's actually his wife.
I do not think I have actually seen this.
No.
It
is.
I'm kind of excited.
T3 is the comedy version of Terminator. It is mostly funny. I like it. I actually really enjoyed it, but with the expectation that obviously it's not going to be anywhere near the
and it just doesn't have Sarah Connor in it.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
So then that was a real big critical not success. So they went back to the drawing board essentially a few years later and went, okay, instead of trying to do Terminator again with the time travel stuff, let's tell the story of John Connor and essentially how they managed to get to the time travel stuff in the first place.
Oh, this is the Christian Bale one.
That's the Christian Bale one. So while that's happening, Sarah Connor Chronicles is also happening at the same time. One of the reasons this happened is that the rights to Terminator went from one company to another. Basically, so I'm pretty sure, I think at the time, a company bought the company that owned the rights to Terminator and were like, oh, we can do something with this. So they just started spinning up projects.
Nice.
Because, like, a lot of the time in Hollywood, you start a project not knowing if it's actually going to be anything.
Right. Yeah.
So I think what happened is that they spun up both, expecting one of them to go, and then both of them went to production.
Oh, right.
Like one got picked up by Fox and one got picked up by like Universal or something like that. And they both got made concurrently, even though they are contradictory. So Salvation doesn't really affect any of the time travel stuff, and it's a little bit unclear if it is the John Connor post T3 or if it's the John Connor pre-Terminator.
Right.
Yeah, like it's super unclear in that movie which one of those it's supposed to be.
Interesting.
But that story happens. That movie's awful. I don't remember, like, I remember some of the special effects. I really don't remember the plot other than what's his face from Avatar is like he's a
Sam whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
Is it the one where Christian Bale yelled at Gaffer or something?
Yeah.
That's I think the only thing I remember of that movie.
So that movie happens and Sarah Connor Chronicles is happening at the same time. Sarah Connor Chronicles, which against all odds
is really good.
Is one of my top 10 TV shows of all time.
Yeah,
like
it's super good.
Season 1 of Sarah Connor Chronicles is phenomenal. It's Lena Headey is,
which people don't realize. Like she's sweet.
Yeah, that's where I came to know who she was.
Yeah, as
Sarah Connor. And Summer Glau is in it as a Terminator who is sent back to protect John.
And that's how I knew about it, is because I liked Summer Glau from Firefly, or from Angel, because she was on Angel first.
Was Summer Glau on Angel first?
Yeah, man, she was a ballerina. It was like a real intense episode where she and it was this beautiful, like, that's how she got into it, is because they needed a ballerina, and she just like and the reason I remember the episode very specifically, I watched like behind the scenes stuff, and it's like one of the only episodes of Angel they were able to shoot like during the day, because it mostly takes place inside an opera theater. So it was like they could do it during the day. Anyways, and then Brian Austin Green as well, right?
In season 2, yeah. So in season 1,
I forgot that there's 2 seasons of it.
In season 1, Summer Glau comes back and interrupts the timeline before T3. So this is still meant to be
post
T2. Yeah, but like basically comes back, finds them, and they stop that timeline from occurring because they end up actually time traveling because the way that the timelines work because John Connor is like a teenager.
Right.
So that would have put it like in the mid 90s.
Right.
Because T2 is the early 90s. So it would have been like the mid to late 90s. They basically grab him and they end up in, at that point, present day, which would have been, I think, like 2007 or 2008.
Something like that, yeah.
And, sorry, still getting over this cold. And then the story goes from there. So that changes the future, messes everything up kind of, and then what ends up happening is that Derek Reese, Kyle Reese's older brother, ends up coming back and being a big part of season 2.
Right.
And then season 2 ends on a horrible cliffhanger where young John ends up in the future.
Yeah.
And it was like, OMG, what's going to happen next? And then the show got canceled. So we'll never know. But after that, now, like, I guess the next thing is Terminator. No, is Genesis.
Yeah,
right?
Genesis happens, but I don't actually know which timeline Genesis is supposed to be.
So Genesis was an attempt to reboot the whole thing.
Yeah.
By sending a Terminator all the way back to when Sarah is a child.
Oh, yeah.
To train her for the moment when they send back the Terminator to kill her in the first movie. But what ends up happening is that they send the Terminator back, I think, to kill somebody else. And Kyle Reese comes back. Like, it's a whole thing.
It's very weird.
And it's not good. And even the action isn't great in Terminator Genesis.
I don't actually know who Sarah Chalk plays. Or not Sarah Chalk. What's her last name? Daenerys is... What's her name?
Emilia Clarke.
Emilia Clarke.
Yeah. She's Sarah Connor.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. I forget.
I thought you said that it was a pretty good movie.
It was. I don't really remember what happened.
Yeah. No.
Because she's in the future, though.
No, she's in... Like,
it's when they start Skynet, right? Yeah. Okay. It all makes sense now in my brain.
It's awful, but so
it's not super memorable. I remember the scene when he wakes up and they have like a conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just...
Well, she says, "Come with me if you want to live." That happens, and it's supposed to be the other way around, and blah blah blah. So we pretend that one didn't happen.
Man, a lot of Game of Thrones people were on Terminator franchises. By a lot. It's mostly just me too.
Yeah. So then now we've got Terminator Dark Fate, which is Dark Fate is a do-over on Terminator 3.
Yeah, basically.
So in fact, like, the plot kind of, it doesn't follow the same stuff, but it kind of also does, because it's like we've sent a Terminator back to kill someone else other than
Sarah Connor.
John. But we're going to give our review, and then we'll do spoilers. Yeah?
Sure.
Because I don't want to say spoilers right off the bat in case people haven't seen it.
Okay, fair.
Because it starts with a spoiler. The movie starts in the first 5 minutes with a huge spoiler.
So I'm super worried because I do not know what that is. So I don't know how to review something without spoiling it.
Okay.
I will do my darndest.
We'll just say, like, it's feminist. Good. It's a good movie.
Yeah. I like it. I didn't realize how many ladies there would be kicking butt and taking names.
That's really what awesome. It ends up being. It ends up... There's a point in the movie where I'm like, this movie is taking the Bechdel test and saying, like... Terminator Dark Fate is the best argument I can make for why the Bechdel test is a terrible metric to determine whether or not your movie is feminist. Because Terminator Dark Fate is 100% feminist. I don't care if they're talking about men, like if these women look at each other and have a conversation about a man. Because at one point in the movie, actually not even at one point, for a significant chunk of the movie, it is about 3 women.
Yeah. The movie is genuinely about 3 women, and then the Terminators happen. So,
because you've got Sarah, you've got Daniela, who is the person who's being targeted by the Terminator, and then you've got Grace, who is the Kyle Reese that's come back to protect her, but is herself kind of a hybrid human Terminator, right? And like that, like I going into it, I should have been able to tell that from the trailers.
But I didn't. Yeah, no,
but I didn't
they
even
didn't.
think about it. I
No,
just
they
expected it to be a movie like any other movie. And then a good, like, I guess it's like 25 minutes to half an hour into the movie. You're like, wait a second. This movie is just about 3 women.
Yeah.
This is an action movie about 3 women that isn't, no offense, but it isn't Charlie's Angels, which is like, this is an action movie about 3 women.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no,
right?
I 100% understand
This
what you're talking
lipstick
about.
is a grenade. Like that, like, we're going to go see Charlie's Angels because I want to see Charlie's Angels.
But I understand that it's
But it's also like, these stilettos have a knife in the heel. Okay, yes, we get it. Women have women's stuff, and it can also be deadly.
But actually, here's the thing. It's the difference between a female gaze and a male gaze.
Yeah.
Charlie's Angels is made for men.
Yeah.
And Terminator is made for everybody, but it has more of a female, like audiences. It's not like pandering to like female audiences. It's like Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
That movie wasn't for women, but it was very feminist. And I feel
and
like
it was
that's
just
similar.
like, yeah, it's just
cool
the perspective
action
of
movie.
like,
yeah.
Well, does it matter if these characters are women?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Right,
does
like,
it
yeah.
matter if Furiosa is a woman?
No.
Not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, there's a little bit of the story that's informed by that. Yeah. But for the most part, for 90% of her story, it's irrelevant. Yeah. Like, she's just a badass.
And it's just kind of,
and
it's
that's the
just
same
really
with
cool.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
But they do have the one conversation, which I'll say for spoilers, that's a little bit on the nose.
There's a bit.
But
I didn't realize how feminist it is. Yeah, I'll save this for the spoiler conversation because I feel like I can't explain it more without like ruining like one of the major things for it. So, but yeah, generally speaking, 2 thumbs up.
And when Arnold does show up, because he obviously does, he's in the trailers. I think he gives one of his best performances of like the last 10 years.
It's pretty good, hey?
He's
really good.
Is so understated.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, he gets the opportunity. He's played this character 4 times.
Right.
And he gets an opportunity to do something completely new with the character in this one.
And refreshing. It was really cool.
It was very refreshing.
Yeah.
I really liked it. So, yeah, I mean, like, if you like Terminator movies,
you will like Dark Fate.
I don't think you'll like this movie.
Really?
No, I think that if you take it too seriously, that you're going to walk in expecting Terminator 2, which is totally unfair.
But if you like the idea of what they set up in the Terminator movie, that there's this big scary Terminator from the future hunting somebody down. This is the thing for reboots that I like, and it's one of the biggest arguments I have for why I love The Force Awakens, is it is genuinely just the same movie, but with completely different characters. But the plot is the same. Like all the core people are there, but they've now become the like matriarchs and the people overseeing what's happening. So like Sarah and the Terminator are still there, but it's not their movie. They gave it to somebody else, and the people whose movie it now is, it's the same plot as their movie. They're just part of it. And that's like a similar thing. So that's what I mean when you like if you like Terminator movies, you'll like this. If you like the actual like movies themselves, then like that kind of a movie, because that's what it is. It's not trying to do anything different with a Terminator franchise. It's a scary future robot thing trying to hunt
literally
somebody.
The thing that they do different, other than the fact that it's a continuation of the story, but the thing that they do the most different in this Terminator film is that it is centrally focused on women instead of,
but not in a way that's, again, it's somebody comes from the future that's a human to protect another human that's being hunted by a Terminator. That's the plot of the movie. That's also the plot of the first movie. Like,
I liked it. I know that it's kind of it flopped, I guess,
Did
the box office.
That sucks. Go see it. It's fun.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's
an action movie.
It's a good action popcorn movie for sure. And if you are a big, like, if you are a deep fan of the Terminator franchise and you actually like all of it for different reasons, I think that there's a lot in this movie for you. If you're one of those people that says that every Terminator movie everything Terminator except for Terminator and T2 is dumb and shouldn't exist, you're not going to like this movie.
Oh yeah.
But if you have something positive to say about all of them except for Genesis, then I think that you'll enjoy this movie. So,
but the best part about it is that you don't have to have seen the first two Terminator movies to enjoy this movie.
Yep.
It totally stands on its own.
Fresh.
Like, you get it. Yep. It's a new story. It totally like makes sense. The characters, we don't know. Like, the main characters are Grace and Daniela, and Danny. Yeah, and those two characters you don't know before, and you like them by the end of the movie, and they're like on their own. It's their own story.
Yep. Cool. Let's get into spoilers.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So you've been warned. I'm gonna spoil the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is a very big reveal, and Amanda completely forgot about it.
I did. What is the big reveal?
He kills John Connor.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to all my Terminator timeline stuff. So the reason why I brought up all of the other Terminators and went through them is that
John Connor is a plot device to me, I guess, in my head, where he was never
time travel in the Terminator franchise is very, very clear.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor Chronicles kind of starts to muddy it up a little bit because they go forwards and backwards and whatever.
It's ridiculous.
But the thing is that they're also clear on that, because the timeline in so in the original Terminator, it's one timeline. That timeline is John Connor is born, grows up, Judgment Day happens, the machines take over, John forms the resistance, fights back. They're about to win, and that's when the machines send the Terminator back to kill Sarah Connor.
Right.
Because if John Connor's not there, then the resistance doesn't have its leader, and theoretically it never happens. Yeah. So Kyle Reese also comes back. John sends him. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, John also knows that's my dad, and has been...
But you don't actually know that. It's unclear whether John Connor knew that Kyle Reese was his dad.
But he had the picture, and like it had been built up in his mind, and he says, "I've been in love with you," or whatever. It's a whole thing. But that all happens. But because the Terminator comes back, it interrupts that original timeline. So you get the T2 timeline where Sarah goes crazy, basically, because she's paranoid that Judgment Day is going to happen, and she's right, it is. But it kind of unhinges her. She's got, now we know, we have language for it, that she's got post-traumatic stress from that whole ordeal.
Right, yes.
So she's terrified that this is going to happen. John is taken away from her and raised in a foster system. So now the timeline's completely messed, right? In the future of that timeline, the Terminators send back a prototype T-1000, which is a completely new type of Terminator made out of liquid metal. But John, now knowing that Terminators can be sent back in time, captures his own Terminator, his own T-800, and sends it back to protect him.
Oh, right? Yeah.
So that happens. He comes back, has to listen to John Connor. Sarah, they all meet up or whatever, and then they decide, we're going to destroy Cyberdyne Systems so that Skynet never happens. So that leads into...
You know this way better than I do.
They do it. So that leads into T3. In T3, Skynet doesn't happen when it's supposed to, but it does eventually happen.
Yes.
They get there on their own without, like, essentially the I think what happened, and this is just conjecture, this is my own opinion, but I think what happened is that when the first Terminator comes back, it gets crushed and then the hand is left.
Oh, yeah.
That actually accelerates the timeline, and Cyberdyne Systems builds Terminators faster because now they have access to this technology. Right? So that's not a closed loop. They're kind of like these loops that kind of spiral off of each other.
Yeah, and then they like happen and then they don't. And then, because
in order for the Terminators, in order for the T-1000 to come back, the T-800 has to come back in the first movie.
Right.
So the T-1000 only exists in the future of that timeline because the T-800 is there, and Cyberdyne Systems has that technology at an earlier point. So the machines are able to build the T-1000 prototype and send it back. It's the only one, though. It's because it's a prototype.
Right.
So that's why we don't see more T-1000s in future stuff. Also, because they destroy Cyberdyne Systems and all of their research, that future never happens. The T-1000 never exists.
Right.
Right? So in Rise of the Machines, it's actually the American government working with Skynet working with like remnants of Cyberdyne Systems that creates Skynet that takes over. And we learn Judgment Day is inevitable. It's going to happen no matter what. Mm-hmm. Right? Eventually we get to this point. No, you can only delay Judgment Day. So John Connor ends up in the bunker and protected, and then in the future.
I do want to say that it's like the reverse singularity. It's like either you get Judgment Day or you get the singularity. Yeah, and it's one or the other. And in this reality, it's always Judgment Day. And I believe that. Like I'm there for it. I feel like that is the future. We either destroy ourselves with technology or we save ourselves with technology. There is no in between.
So the future of T3 is the future that salvation doesn't matter in any of this. The future of T3 is the future that sends back Summer Glau to protect John Connor before Sarah dies from cancer.
Right.
That theoretically creates, within this universe, that creates another timeline. And the future of that timeline, I'm going to go ahead and say, in my opinion, John Connor ending up in the future is what changes the timeline to the point where he has the idea, or whatever, somebody comes up with the idea as a result of him being in the future, to send back the Terminator all the way back to when Sarah is a child. Okay. And to protect her from that point forward and to train her in order to fight. So that they're basically saying, like, we're going to send back this Terminator and we're going to start the Resistance 20 years before the first Terminator even gets sent back, right? Of course, the first Terminator is not going to get sent back because we've completely destroyed the timeline a million times over. But that happens. That changes the future. That I think to the point where now they send back, like, the machines just go like, you know what? We're just going to keep sending Terminators. We're going to send as many Terminators as we can. Like, they've created a future somehow where the time travel technology is not as difficult to come by. And that's where we end up with Dark Fate, where it's like, they just keep sending Terminators over and over and over. And they send a Terminator that eventually does just kill John Connor. Right. And by virtue of that, they completely change the timeline. Skynet never happens. It's a completely different thing called Legion. And John Connor is not the leader of the Resistance. But I like the idea, because we're familiar with this concept that Judgment Day is inevitable. But the other part of that is that the Resistance is also inevitable.
Right. So even without John, there's going to be somebody.
Somebody is going to rise up to be the leader of the Resistance, and in this new timeline,
and this is where this is where I come in and say my favorite part of the movie, and you sort of realize it if you're a feminist in any way, shape, or form within the first 10 minutes that it actually is Danny that is.
Oh,
but here's the thing: the okay boomer part of this is that Linda Hamilton's character, like Sarah Connor, can only fathom that the reason that Danny is being hunted is because her womb, or she will have a kid who will lead the Resistance. Like, she can't, because she grew up in a time and a place where, like, she couldn't fathom.
She can only see it from her perspective. From her experience. Where it was like, clearly it's your son that's going to lead the Resistance. And then it's like, you know, right before the end of the movie, and Grace is like, no, it's Danny that leads the Resistance. Like, I got sent here because of Danny. You sent me back to protect you.
You sent me back to protect you. Yeah. And I do like that is very clear that timeline persists and exists, because
one's a closed loop.
That's a closed loop. When Grace is in the future and gets and introduced and first meets Danny, it's very clear in the acting that Danny knew exactly who Grace was. Like it's quite well done. I really like it.
Yeah, she's actually there at the right moment in order to ensure that timeline happens.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, she basically says that to Sarah. It's like, I'm going to make sure that nothing bad ever happens to Grace. Like, I'm going to be there to protect her. And then they go, okay, well then we better start training, right? And they drive off into the sunset. These two badass ladies. I love Terminator because the time travel is so tight.
Yeah.
It is one of the best things about it. And I think it's actually the thing that a lot of people just overlook. People think so much about the Terminators themselves as like central to the story. And it's like, it's not the Terminators that make the Terminator franchise great. It's the time travel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because robots are robots. And granted, like the skeletal Terminator robot living tissue over a metal endoskeleton is like, that's Terminator and that's awesome and it's such a great concept. But
I love that was in this movie too.
Yep.
That they used that Terminator and then they just have the technology on top of it. And it's really cool when you first realize that it's because he's liquid the whole first part of the movie.
Yeah.
And then he's driving a truck and then needs to continue to drive the truck and attack her. And he separates into the exoskeleton, into two. Yeah. And it's a really awesome use of that, where it's the first time that it was ever necessary for him to separate. And you don't know the lore behind it. They both seem pretty powerful. It seems like he could be that the whole time, but he's just not. But that was really cool. And the thing I like about Terminator is that's why I do like it, because of the time travel. Yeah. Like action movies are sweet and great, but like very specifically, like I probably would not have liked the movies had it not included time travel. Like,
so a lot of people complain of like, well, how come the Terminators, like every time they send back another Terminator, it's more advanced than, why didn't they just send that one back in the first place? But I like the idea that, because one of the things that's introduced in this movie is that Sarah, so the Terminator that comes back to kill John is the Arnold that's in this movie.
Yes.
And he, after he fulfills his mission, he's like, well, I did it. And he just kind of goes off.
Yeah.
And then ends up like meeting a person and growing a conscience.
Yeah.
And then going like, well, now I have to stop Terminators.
Yeah.
Like, because I regret what I did.
And also because his orders stopped coming because he changed the timeline from which he was sent.
So, and that's
really cool to me.
That to me is like what, like that's sort of the key to this movie, is that every time they stop a Terminator or they delay Judgment Day or whatever, like every time that they alter the timeline, the machines get more powerful. Because every time we come back to this franchise, movie technology has moved forward, but we've pushed the timeline further.
Right.
So the technology that exists when Skynet forms is more advanced.
Yeah.
So I like that, like there's sort of like a meta narrative there of like the Terminators that when we see a bunch of stuff in the future in this movie, right?
Oh yeah.
And when we see that stuff, we see Terminators that we've never seen before that are like, they're like Dr. Octopus Terminators.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
they're like the T-800s, or kind of more like the Rev 9.
Oh,
which
they're
is the
really
new
cool.
one.
Yeah, I didn't even.
But
think about that.
they've got like the liquid
limbs.
metal tentacles that come out of them.
Yeah.
And they're so awesome and they're so advanced and it looks so great. But the reason why they can do that is because the technology just like gets more powerful every time.
Yeah, as you go through.
Every time it gets delayed, every time it gets pushed. But
the craziest part about it is like stuff is just hit so close to home. Where in this one, Judgment Day, like the idea of what she says is it is 9:45. Have we been talking for an hour? My goodness, sorry, just saw Mike's watch. But is that it happened so instantaneously.
Yeah.
Where like she was like, there is no lead up. There was no like, it literally just happened. And that's the thing again, and I never thought about it until literally this conversation. It's the singularity except the opposite of it. It's just going to happen hard and fast, and we're either all going to die or we're all going to be saved.
Yeah, and there's no point in worrying about it.
Right? Yeah.
The flip side to the Terminator universe is the movie, is it Her?
Yeah.
Where
that's the singularity.
The singularity where everybody's got these AIs.
And then they just don't care.
And then it gets to a point where the AIs, they're so advanced that they're like, humans suck. we're leaving.
Yeah.
And
so
they
good.
they
It's
just
the best.
beam themselves off into
best.
space.
I love it so
Sorry
much.
I guess I just spoiled
Spoil
her,
her.
but that movie's like 3 years old now, right?
It's great though. You should totally watch.
That's a good
her
movie. It's
because,
a very good movie.
To be fair, knowing that ending doesn't in any way spoil her for you. Like it's
because that's not
it's
what the
really,
movie's about.
Yeah, yeah.
The movie is
It's
about Joaquin Phoenix's character.
Yeah, it's really good. Actually, I highly recommend her.
It's a very good movie. Yeah, Terminator: Dark Fate. I liked it.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we? We should probably.
We should probably
record
record.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.